Just talking to Mike Robbins, the author of Focus on the Good Stuff. Yes, it's Mike Robbins, formerly of the Kansas City Royals organization, and then the Arm Blue, and he said, what can I do for a living? I know. How about if I just go around and tell people what to do when their arms blow, or whatever it is that happens to be blowing, and he said, I'll make a career out of this, and he did. I was just telling you about the fact that instead of grace at our home, we did gratefuls. And it was a very spiritual experience, still nonetheless, but we didn't have a family of Irish Catholics prattling this mantra, the food, God bless, and having no idea what it is we were talking about. And every one of us, and if you visited, you had to do it too. You had to come up with something that just you were grateful for in the day. Amazing what happens when somebody says, tell me something good. And you were talking about that, about your phone message.
Absolutely. Well, and we can ask that question all the time and talk about it. I love that you guys did that at home, because it makes me laugh. Something I read about and Focus on the Good Stuff is a lot of times people will do that ritual at Thanksgiving. Right? You sit down for Thanksgiving, let's all hold hands, go around, what are you grateful for?
Right.
But why don't we do it on March 12th or July 15th or, for no reason, just because it's something we can do and a great way to connect with your family. I do that in corporations sometimes. I'll have everyone on a team go around and talk about what are they grateful for about working there, about each other. And even though oftentimes people are a little hesitant at first, I've seen some amazing things happen even in a work group when people do that.
In fact, Jeff Richards from Saturday Night Live, he's grateful right now that Lauren dropped him from the show, because otherwise he wouldn't be here today to make good conversation and talk about the comedy spot and how much fun he's having on the road, which is a kind of a sleazy promotion for one of our guests coming up. We've got a show packed full of guests who are all focusing on good stuff. One of them feeding hungry people, another one taking care of the dollar, and Jeff Richards is here too, talking about what it's like to be on the road as a comedy person. You know who Wayne Dyer is, Dr. Wayne Dyer?
Of course.
We were talking about not focusing on the negatives that are constant in our lives. And Wayne Dyer, one of the best read people that I know, regular guest here, tries to avoid the news. Wayne says, I don't like the whole aura that the daily news creates in my life. How do you stay informed, though? How do you know what's going on in the world if you don't watch the news?
Well, I have a number of people in my life who have the same thing. I watch a little bit of news myself, and my feeling is if something really important happens, you'll find out. And there's a lot of different ways. I mean, nowadays, one of the nice things I think about the internet is you can find places on the internet where you can get some what people would consider relatively unfiltered news, and find places of people that you agree with or like and get your news that way. There's a lot of ways. We don't have to turn the television on, and this is no offense to TV. It's great, and we got to pay attention to what are we looking at and what are we putting into our head all
right,
day.
but aren't you living in a fool's paradise, though? I mean, it's terrific to focus on the good stuff as opposed to the bad stuff. But there's good stuff and bad stuff in our lives.
Absolutely, and this is focus on the good stuff. This does not mean avoid the bad stuff per se. What it does mean is look at the world the way that it is and then choose what you're going to pay attention to, whether it's with people or with situations. And I think a lot of times, again, let's take it an example, not necessarily with the news, but in a relationship. You know, the divorce rate in America is over 50%. And my belief in talking to a lot of people and working with couples and knowing from my own relationship with my wife, Michelle, is that when there's a fight or an argument or disagreement with your significant other or with a friend, or when you split up, it's fundamentally because one or both people aren't feeling appreciated. But the question you got to ask yourself is, what are you paying attention to in that other person, right? And all the time, when people get upset with their friends or their family or their coworkers or their spouse, it's because that's what they're paying attention to.
You know what you always do?
What?
Not you. I mean, you know what you always leave the cabinet door ajar, or you always do. And why do you always? And all the negatives. I wonder how many married couples start the day by saying, "You always really make me happy."
I think there are some really happy ones. You know, one of the things that my wife, Michelle, and she's been one of my greatest teachers ever, we do this practice all the time. I write about it and Focus on the Good Stuff, is we do what we call create the day. And how that goes is we say how we want our day to go, but we also let each other know proactively in the morning, this is what I love about you. This is what I appreciate about you. And it's not because she went and just did something. It's because I'm saying that because I love her. And doing that, when I hear her say those things about me in the morning, all of a sudden I feel like 10 feet tall, and I go out in my day knowing that my wife loves me and appreciates me and supports me.
I can be happy, but I've never felt 10 feet tall. I still buy my pants in the junior petite department. You're a father.
Yes.
Okay. In the commercial for the paper towels,
Yes.
the little kid spills something on the cabinet, I mean, on the kitchen counter, right? And mom goes, "Oh, honey, no, that's all right," and tears off one of the good paper towels and cleans it up and is
Right.
smiling all the time.
Right.
And I'm thinking, moms don't do that. Moms say, "What are you doing? Didn't we just do that? Now I don't have any milk left and it's all over the place," and everybody feels bad for a while.
Yes.
You know? But you really have to discipline yourself, don't you, in order to not yell at the kid?
Well, I think, yeah, that's a personal practice for everybody, but with parenting, I mean, I'm a new parent. We have a 20-month-old little girl named Samantha, which is fantastic, and we're learning all the time. But one of the most important things, I think, with children is you've got to be able to tell them what to do as opposed to always telling them what not to do. And it goes both ways,
Yeah.
but if you look at our society, I think people are running around, whether they're young or they're old, afraid to do the wrong thing, as opposed to excited to do the right thing. And that's because a lot of the feedback that we give people is very negative. You know, Tom Peters, who's a great business consultant, one of his best quotes is, "Celebrate what you want to see more of." So if we got more excited when, whether it's children or our spouse or our friends did the things we like them to do, they'd probably do it more often, as opposed to always getting upset when they do the things we don't like.
Listen, I could focus on the fact that the poor comic who had to work late last night had to get up early this morning
Right.
to appear here on a television show in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's probably in a lousy mood, doesn't like me. No, because with this guy, we get David Letterman, we get Charlie Rose,
Yeah.
we get all of these people because he's a marvelous impressionist, a funny guy. Hey, you know what? I just focused on the good stuff.
There you go.
And look what I've learned from Mike Robbins. I'll learn how to make you giggle, chortle, and guffaw coming up next, because it's comedy time on the Pat McMahon Show on AZT with Jeff Richards. Stay with us.